Thank you for being here. Since you said literally nothing in your introduction, I thought maybe we could provide some context. Like many of your films...
The context of a film is people, you know? Like this doesn't exist. It's light and shadow, and there was a dog barking. You see, even things that are not supposed to exist, they exist in theaters. That's why I love theaters. And you know, what really exists is how do you receive this light and shadow and some barking, maybe.
So, like several of your other films, this has two parts. And there was also two stages, more than two stages maybe, of production. I'm thinking of the scenes that were shot on location in Asia, and also the scenes that you shot with actors on a soundstage. So can you talk about just coming up with this idea of combining those two elements for this film?
Yeah, well, this film came from a book, Somerset Maugham book about traveling in Southeast Asia, and a book called A Gentleman in the Parlor. It's a book that tells about traveling, so it's like describing markets and temples and things like this, and also encounters with other people. So there are 2 pages in this book called A Gentleman in the Parlor, where it tells about meeting a guy that was living in Burma at that moment, and he got married with a woman and is very happy living with this woman, and but he got scared when because they were engaged for many years, and she came from London to meet him to get married, and then he got scared and he ran away, like you see in the film. And so this was like the departure point for this film. And so this was like the story. We had these 2 characters. We had an itinerary of the trip, and we had nothing else. So we had to invent the script. But before writing the script, we thought we should do the grand tour. We should do this itinerary with the places where the characters will go. And before writing the first sentence of the script. And so we shot this, like doing this trip with the screenwriters, but also with a crew, a small crew that was shooting this on film. And then we got to Lisbon, we added this material, it was like an archive of footage of this trip, because normally you use the archive in films to show the past. And in this film we thought maybe it's more interesting to shoot the past in studio later on, and to have like the footage of the present, which will be the future of the characters. I don't know if this makes sense, but we thought it would be interesting.
So when you did this tour, it was actually interrupted, right?
It was because we were shooting in 2020, in the beginning of the year, so we got to Japan, and then they didn't allow us to enter China. We had a ferry boat to go into Shanghai, and it was cancelled. So we went back to Lisbon, and we thought, okay, in 2 months we'll get back to China and we'll finish this, and then this COVID thing. So it went on and on and on. And there was a moment, there was 1 year passing by, 2 years. And then after 2 years, we decided, okay, I'll just shoot in a remote way the Chinese part. So I'll have a Chinese crew in China. And I'll be like 500 meters from my house, in an Airbnb house with more 2 people, with lots of monitors, seeing what's happening in China. They have more than me. I had only 2 or 3 monitors. In China, they have like billions of monitors, but they could not see us filming them in China. So this was quite cool. And so we were in Lisbon filming China with Chinese crew, and this Chinese crew traveled for 3,000 kilometers along the Yangtze River, and we were always in the same Airbnb house every day. In this film, I had like a physical impression of time and space in a very singular way because of all these different shootings, It was quite interesting for me.
Yeah, I think not just time and space. I think what you're doing with this film, time, space, the past and the present, sound and image, documentary and fiction, I think you're kind of asking the viewer to do a lot of connecting. And I think the film is really about that. It's about montage in a way, like about what meaning we make from, by putting things together as we watch a film.
Yeah, but I think we should trust a little bit the audience, because...
No, we do.
Some of them are lazy, I know, quite lazy.
No, they're not here. You don't have to...
No, they are not here. They went away already. But I think cinema has too much power over the audience. Normally a film, most of the films are just saying to the audience what you should feel, what you should think, bad guy, good guy, all the time. And what I think that cinema should be is something that invents a space for audience to roam, to have some space to go on, and of course some people that will not know what to do with this freedom, they can be lost, which I think is okay to me. I like to be lost, in a controlled way. But I think the job of a filmmaker is to invent a space for the viewer inside the film, and to provide something where it can be not so lost, but where it can have some freedom to think, this is funny, or this is tragic, at the same second. People think different things. this is great. I think we cannot deny this. I think we cannot like try to over control everything to try to give the feeling to all of you guys the same feeling at the same time. That's too much. I think we should fight the filming on the screen. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you about shooting in studio, it's like on sound stages, because I think of your cinema as often being very much engaged with the messiness of the real world and interested in chance and, you know, reality and all the things that come with that. So shooting in a much more controlled setting, what was that like for you?
It was scary, the idea of controlling everything, you know, because every time I film, I have the sensation that the world is sometimes very stupid, very unfair, but that's at the same time very beautiful, you know? And the sun goes up and it's amazing, and it goes down and it's also amazing. And in studio, there's no sun. No sun in studio. So you have to invent your own sunlight. And that was like scaring me a little bit. Not to be depending on things that I cannot control. And then, first day, second day, third day in studio, I was loving it. Okay, I can make my own sun. Great. I can do things with the sun that I cannot control, thanks God. And I can also invent my own sun. That's beautiful. So I was trying to deal with these two very different things in this film.
Can you talk about the characters that you created for the fiction of the film, Edward and Molly?
Okay, everyone hates Edward normally, but I love him, okay? People say, okay, because you're Edward. No, I'm not Edward.
It's your middle name, no?
It's my middle name, though. You know, and my wife, she's not Molly, she's Maureen. It's not that far away. But I don't think I'm such a coward as Edward. And though my wife is a little bit stubborn like Molly, they are very different characters. And so Edward is someone that hides himself in the world. He changes during the film, I guess. He doesn't have much screen time. So it's the world that is like molding him. Like you don't see him, but the images changes. Sometimes they are very, very more stressful, sometimes more nostalgic. So this is Edward hiding in the world and changing. And then you get Molly. So Edward is very introverted, and Molly, she's like the opposite. And she's amazing, no? Because she begins laughing in her peculiar way. And she looks very naive and very confident, and she looks to have very much faith in everything. And then she also changes. And so this is why the film is maybe sometimes sad and sometimes joyful, like life and cinema.
You want to say something about Molly's laugh, since you brought it up? I want to come back to the documentary of the film. Last question, actually, because I think we have to wrap up. But I wanted, because that's where you started, by taking this tour and shooting. I'm curious, like, what that experience was like for you. Like, what were you looking for, like, and how were you responding to these different places? It's interesting. I also was struck by how you incorporate the puppet traditions, the puppet shows of different cultures as you move through different countries.
Well, cinema is like you can like approach it from other art forms of art, you know, literature, painter. I think like the primitive thing is like puppets. Puppets is not real life. It's wooden things. It's very different from country to country, which is quite amazing. When people talk to me about Asian culture, I say, what are you talking about? It's very different from every country. Lots of different approaches and ideas. But in the end, there is this, like, one thing, which is on my original idea, I would not have voiceover in the film. I never told this. I'm telling this in New York to you guys. So we had like Asian people from each country telling things about what they were doing in their daily life. And so, for instance, many puppeteers telling what they do. And the first puppeteers I interviewed and I didn't use in the film was the first you see from Myanmar, ancient Burma. And the guy says, the guy that runs these puppet shows says, I think, amazing, that it wasn't like in the editing almost the whole time. Maybe last week we cut it. The sound of these guys telling the story about. So the question was, what's the use of the puppet shows? Why it's particular in Burma, in Myanmar? What you do with puppet shows? And he says, okay, puppet shows in Burma, they are very realistic, and they have much more strings than all the rest of the countries, so it's much more complex, and it's a little bit more realistic, the design of the puppets. And he explained, this is because, you know, people from Myanmar, from here, they are very shy. So they use puppets because they want to see things that they are embarrassed to see if they were seeing real humans. You know, like love stories, relationships between family, between lovers. It's very, we use this like a filter because we want to see these stories but not be embarrassed seeing, you know, humans. We need to see puppets. And he said, this is why people in this country look like puppets, and the puppets look like the real people, which I thought, wow, this is amazing, and maybe this is the film. Maybe this is the film. So it's about things being fake, but with this artificial world of cinema, you get the connection with the real world that sometimes it's more difficult when you're with real people. And I thought this was amazing. I tried to open the film with this voiceover, and I changed in the end. But I'm telling you this. What was your question anyway?
I think you answered it.
Okay, I answered it.
Okay. All right, I think we're out of time, but you have one more opportunity to hear Miguel. He's going to be doing a talk tomorrow at 4 o'clock with Payal Kapadia. But thank you for being here.
Have made an amazing film, so if you didn't saw it, go see it.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.